Over the last 15 years, I've read over 1,000 books on business and personal development. And in this video, I want to break down the books that actually changed my life. I know that if you read these books, they will change your life as well. Not only will I tell you the books, but I will also break down my main takeaways from each book. I've read about 2 books per week for the last 15 years. So when I tell you these are the books that changed my life, it's not like some goofball who just tells you, hey, these books are great. No. This is like a sommelier telling you which wines are the best. This is like Snoop Dogg telling you what marijuana is the best. It's like Charlie Sheen telling you what city has the best cocaine. But not only have I read these books and curated this list for you, I've also used the lessons in these books to build an amazing life. Several multi-8-figure businesses, millions of dollars, a girlfriend with a big butt, and titties. You guys are trying to choose, hey, tits or butt, which one is better? Man, I don't live a life of scarcity, all right? I went and got both, and I want you to have all that too. And that's why you need to read these books. The first book on this list is Relentless by Tim Grover. I like this book so much, I actually have it tattooed on my arm like a psycho. The reason this book had such a profound impact on me was because up until reading this book, people would tell me, oh, Brandon, you're going too hard. You need to live a little. You need to relax. You need to enjoy life. Because at the time, I was trying to dig my family out of a hole. See, my father had committed suicide and I had to work like multiple jobs to dig our family out of the financial hell that we were left in after his passing. And I was going super hard and I got us out of the hole, but I kept that same work ethic, working 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. People would tell me, you need to live a little, you need to relax, man, take it easy. And I didn't want to. And I thought, man, maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I need to listen to these people. Maybe I am a workaholic, like they say. And then when I read Tim Grover's book, I read stories about how he trained Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and many other superstar athletes. And he didn't talk about athletics at all. He just talked about the mindset of elite level champions. And when I read this, I was like, oh, these people telling me I need to live a little, that may be fine for them and their goals. But if I want elite level success, it requires a different amount of effort. And that I was actually doing the right thing. I was on the right path. So it gave me permission to say, shut the fuck up. You don't know shit about victory, ho. I didn't say that out loud because I'm a nice guy and I have tact. What I would say instead was, I enjoy working hard. Because what I realized was when they say you need to enjoy life, the only way they enjoy life is vacations, partying, recreation. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But some of us enjoy life by trying to see what we're made of, trying to fulfill our potential. Some of us enjoy life by pushing ourselves. And we love seeing how hard we can work because we know it's moving us closer to our goals. Whereas everyone who's telling me to enjoy life, they have to escape from work because they don't enjoy work. It's just a means to an end. And the recreation, the party, the vacations, they're all fine, but that's the only way they enjoy life. Actually kind of makes me sad. I actually feel sorry for them because if that's the only way you enjoy life, you only have little pockets of joy, right? You can only enjoy it sparingly. But when you learn to push yourself, when you learn to find joy, leaving it all on the field every day, and you find that joy in your work, then you can enjoy life every day. I'm just as happy sitting at my desk fucking with some spreadsheets as they are on vacation. I can enjoy life 24 hours a day. They can only enjoy life after work or on the weekends or when they get their 2 weeks of vacation. They don't understand that because I adopted that mindset, I'm actually enjoying life more than them on a more consistent basis. Now, it's not to say I don't go on vacations or I don't do recreational activities. I'll go to the Heat game, get some floor seats, watch Jimmy Butler dunk on somebody. I'm trying not to get sweated on. If there's a loose ball, I got to get out the way. Me and my girl go abroad, get the villas, fly first class, all that. I do all that stuff sometimes. I'm not happier doing that than I am fucking with spreadsheets in my office all day. In fact, it actually takes discipline for me to do that. I left to my own devices, I'll just sit and work all day. And Relentless let me know that it was okay. And I believe if you read that, you can start adopting some of that into your own life. And I believe if you do, it would definitely help you if you are trying to achieve extreme success. If you want to be a regular guy and do regular shit until you die, then you don't need to read this book. It's kind of not for you. The next book is for you. In fact, it's for everyone. It is How to Win Friends and Influence People. See, I read this book in high school and it had a profound effect on me. What this book teaches you is actually, it's in the title, how to actually win friends and influence people, get people to like you. And my main takeaway from this book was the way that most people try to get people to like them is to try to impress them. But the real way to get people to like you is to be impressed by them. It's to find things to compliment them on. It's to ask them about themselves. It's to be interested in them and they'll find you interesting. I think this is the best sales book of all times. Even though it's not marketed as a sales book, the tactics in there will make you a better salesperson. It's also the best pickup book of all time. If you out here trying to be an international playboy, there's nothing better than this book. Because if you master the tactics in this book, everyone you meet will think you are one of the greatest people they ever met without you even having to do anything impressive. What Dale Carneige teaches in the book is to ask people questions about themselves. Instead of talking about you, find ways to compliment them. Then make it be genuine, right? Don't make shit up. If you look hard enough, you can find an honest reason to compliment anyone. Even if I saw the Hunchback of Notre Dame, he walking all through looking all goofy and shit. And if I wanted to impress him, I'd start asking him questions about him. Oh man, so you live in this tower, huh? How long you been doing that tower shit? You ring the bell every day. Man, that's impressive. What's the best part about ringing that bell? What do you like most about it? You plan on maintaining this bell? Is there a lot of upward mobility in the tower bell ringing field, right? Are you trying to move on to different towers or you like the one you're at, right? You know what? I be hearing that tower bell ring, man. That's you ringing it? That's you? You're ringing the shit out of that bell, man, all the time. That's what's up, man. A lot of people must want that job. How'd you get it? I didn't lie to this motherfucker about anything. Even though he looked like an ogre, I just, I don't have to focus on that. I can focus on what he's good at. Let's say, better example, most of you guys aren't meeting hunchbacks, not on a regular basis. So here's an example you can use in your real life. Let's say you got this girl you like, or maybe you're dating her and you meet her friends. If you're a real player, you know that you got to get the friends on your side. You got to get the friends to like you so the friends start encouraging her to keep giving you pussy. So you want the friends to like you. So what do? When you meet the friends, you ask them about themselves. Hey, what are you doing? What do you do for a living? Oh man, how long you been doing that? Same kind of shit. Find ways to compliment them. Oh man, them shoes, where you get them shoes from? Just something. If you compliment the friends, you ask them about themselves, you don't have to say shit about yourself, right? It actually takes the pressure off you because you can just ask people questions about them and look for things to compliment them on. I guarantee you, all them friends will be telling her that she need to give you that hop tour consistently. And then once she gets that validation from her friends, she'll be more excited to give you head. Everybody wins. And obviously you can use it in a business context as well, especially if you're doing sales. My sales strategy, I just ask the prospect questions about himself, questions about his problems, questions about what he's dealing with. Everybody's favorite subject is themselves. You ask them about what problems they have, then you just tell them once you've gathered enough information about what they have going on, what their goals are, what things are stopping them from accomplishing their goals. And then you just explain to them how your product is a solution to their problems. It's an easy sell. Right? Once you master these tactics, you'll be better in your personal life, you'll be better in your romance life, and you'll be better in your business. You'll be more influential and people will like you more. But you also got to get that money. And that's where the next book comes in, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Again, after my father killed himself, I just started working multiple jobs. I was working 12, 14 hours a day. I was doing jobs like security. I was the weekend manager at a barbecue restaurant in Queens. I was working for moving companies, which is back-breaking labor. I was also doing personal training. And when I read this book, I remember it vividly the first time I read it. I was doing a move, right? We packed somebody's shit up, put it in the truck, and we were driving it to their new place. And I remember reading this book and I thought, wait a minute, what if I train people online? You got to understand, this was a novel concept at the time, like 2008, 2009, around that time. It was a novel concept. I was in that first class of people who were doing online training. I didn't invent it, but I was definitely one of the pioneers. And this book kind of helped me figure out the strategy. Now, my strategies are more sophisticated now. It was the initial spark. And that's when I, started this YouTube page and started training people online. And I got the idea to start online training from this book. fun fact, I've talked to a lot of successful entrepreneurs that you know, and they told me that this book started them off. So when I talked to my boy Lewis House, he said that this book gave him the idea to start this podcast and the big media empire that he has now. Another guy named Dr. Axe, he has an 8-figure business. They have a whole supplement company. And he told me that he read this book and said, hey, this is what we need to do. And I've heard this from so many entrepreneurs who are in like my generation of entrepreneurship. This was the book that gave us the idea. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if this is a good read for you today, right? Because a lot of the tactics and the strategy in this book are antiquated. There's more sophisticated things you can do now. And, the internet was still kind of in its infancy when this was first published. However, some of my main takeaways were Tim's time management philosophy. So he talked about outsourcing as much as possible in order to get more time back. That's how you got the 4-hour work week, right? And that's something that I started to implement as soon as I started making some money, at least a little bit. I started outsourcing. I started with my personal life, right? So I would pay someone to do my laundry, and that started saving me a bunch of time. And I used that time to put towards my business. So it wasn't me being lazy, like my mom said. It was like, no. I want to work more on the stuff that will make me money. I stopped cooking and all that shit. And then I started saving way more time. And I used that time to make more money. And I just started doing this to all areas of my life. And I actually get made fun of that for a lot. When I do videos about it, people say, oh, you're just lazy. I'm like, man, I'm doing this so I can work more on higher value tasks. In fact, you have a job because some guy who has a business said, hey, if I pay this motherfucker to do this shit, I can spend more time doing the important shit, right? And that's why you stacking boxes and shit. Because the CEO ain't gonna stack boxes. He's still working. He might work more than you, but he's working on things that are higher value. And this book kind of gave me the game plan for that, as well as the online business game plan. If you're going to read this, the concepts that he gave for starting an online business are still valid, but a lot of the tactics are antiquated. But the time management shit is still super solid. But none of that's going to help you at all unless you got your mind right. And the next book to help you get your mind right is The Molecule of More. This book is super fascinating. So check this out. I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 a while ago. Now, again, that's bipolar 2. That's the new shit. You motherfuckers got that old bipolar. And because I had bipolar 2, I needed to learn a lot about neuroscience and a lot about the brain in order to manage my condition in a way where I'm still a functional member of society. And that led me down a lot of paths. And I learned a lot about the brain and neuroscience. My favorite book on the topic is this, The Molecule More. Now, this book is really about the molecule of dopamine. And the main takeaways I got from this book was how dopamine drives a lot of decision making for humans, whether you know it or not. See, dopamine is actually responsible for your inner drive and motivation. When you see somebody getting after it, going after his goals, attacking life, this person has high levels of dopamine and he's utilizing them towards his goals. However, dopamine is a double-edged sword. If your dopamine is low, it's going to be very difficult for you to be motivated, very difficult for you to have ambition, very difficult for you to go after your goal with the veracity that's needed in order to accomplish them. So a lot of times when people say, man, I just don't got motivation, how do you stay motivated? It's like, man, you need to work on your fucking neuroscience, right? You have to work on your actual brain, like the chemical reactions going on in your brain. And let me show you how this works. Everyone has a baseline level of dopamine, but you can do things that cause a dopamine spike. Spike is a misleading term. It's not even really accurate. What happens is, your dopamine spikes up, but it doesn't go back down to baseline. That's why I say it's misleading. A spike implies that it goes up and it comes back down to baseline. No. It goes up and then it goes below the baseline. You want to think of your dopamine as a resource in your brain that needs to be managed, because once you have one of these dopamine spikes, your dopamine is going to go below baseline. And that means you're going to have less dopamine available, which means you'll be less ambitious. You'll be less likely to go after your goals, less likely to actually attack life the way you need to accomplish the things that are important to you. And this is why a lot of times people will play video games all day, using up all their dopamine on bullshit, but then they don't have any motivation to go after their real goals because they've squandered this resource of dopamine on the video games. Now, here's the thing. Dopamine does replenish itself. What happens is a lot of times people will spike their dopamine over and over again before it has enough time to replenish, and they use up all that available dopamine. And this is how you get people who have a lack of motivation. So certain things that spike your dopamine are recreational drugs, video games, social media, parties, alcohol. These things spike your dopamine tremendously. And after that, your dopamine levels go below baseline and you'll be less motivated to do anything. So what I learned from this book is you don't want to squander your dopamine on empty victories. You want to save that dopamine for the things that are important, going after your goals. That's how you maintain motivation. That's how you stay motivated. People always say, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated? You don't waste your dopamine on empty victories. This is why I don't do a lot of partying. I don't do any recreational drugs. I don't drink any alcohol because I don't want to waste my dopamine on empty victories. I want to use my dopamine and deploy it against my goals. It's not saying I don't have fun sometimes, but what people do is they go out every night. They get drunk every night. They play video games for hours every day. They do drugs every day. And it's rare to see somebody do that and still accomplish a lot of their goals. That whole international playboy shit, you can do that shit sometimes, right? It's okay to do it sometimes as long as you give your body enough time to replenish its dopamine. So yeah, still have sex. I go to basketball games. That's a huge dopamine spike. I do stuff like that, but it's not something I do all day, every day. This book will show you how to manage dopamine and manage your life. It's super critical that you do this because once you start to learn about neuroscience, you understand that all emotions are basically just neurochemicals going off in your brain. Oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and other neurochemicals are responsible for all your emotions. That's all emotions are different combinations of neurochemicals in your brain. That's all an emotion is. They are literally all in your head. And you need to learn how to manipulate them or they will manipulate you. But one thing that would definitely help you get your mind right is meditation. And the best book I've ever read on meditation is Stress Less, Accomplish More by the wonderful Emily Fletcher. Now, I've been meditating consistently for about 15 years. And I've read a bunch of books on the topic. This is the only one I recommend. There's another one that's pretty good, but this one's like way better. The reason I like this book is it goes into the science of meditation. Like a lot of books on meditation, it sounds like some California hippie shit, you know? You know what I'm talking about? Like them white girls who collect rocks and shit, you know? She burning motherfucking leaves and shit around her house to get rid of the bad energy. Shut up, bitch. But Emily went into the science of meditation. And there's a lot of science. Let me break some of this down for you. Here's a study that shows that 8 weeks of meditation will actually shrink your amygdala. Now, the amygdala is the part of the brain that's responsible for your fight or flight responses. You know, panic and fear, being stressed out, you know, spazzing and shit. And this study proves with brain scans that 8 weeks of meditation actually shrunk the size of the participants' amygdala, right? This is motherfucking science. This ain't bro science. This ain't hoe science. Hoe science, you know, like manifestation, fucking crystals and shit, you know. I want y'all to start using that, start spreading that hoe science, right? Anyway, this ain't bro science or hoe science. This is real science. But that's not all. Here's another study that was done by Howard University that shows that meditation actually increases density in the regions of your brain called the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the part of your brain that's responsible for like logic. Human beings have a larger frontal lobe than other animals. This is why we can come up with stuff like mathematics. We can invent cars, make YouTube videos, and other animals, you know, struggle in those endeavors. They don't have the neocortex on lock like we do. That's why we eat them and they run from us, or they're our pets. If bears had a bigger frontal lobe than us, we'd be the pets. I digress. Meditation will increase the density of gray matter in that region of the brain. This study proved it with brain scans. So let's look at this, how this works. Meditation increases the density of your neocortex, making you more logical and smarter for all intents and purposes. And shrinking the amygdala makes you less of a motherfucking spaz. You're less panicky. You have less fear. Can you see how that may be advantageous in your life? If you had less fear, more logic, and you were actually smarter, for lack of a better term, or at least more reasonable. You can deduct logic more effectively because you've actually changed your brain. You're not being clouded by fear, anxiety, and all the other bullshit, and you can be more logical. This study showed that meditation actually changes your brain in that regard. And meditation is the main reason why my therapist told me I don't need to take any medication for my bipolar 2 because I'm crushing that shit with my meditation practice. I meditate twice a day, 2 sessions, and each session is 15 or 20 minutes. And I've been doing that for over a decade. That's why I'm so cool and calm, even in the face of adversity, even in the eye of the hurricane, even when there's turmoil around me, even when people are panicking, losing their mind, throwing up. I'm in that same situation, stoic like a Terminator, like a black Terminator. You know, when John Connor and his mama was finna die and shit, and then the white Terminator said, come with me if you want to live. Real calm. That's who you want. That's me. And that's who you want to be when you're in situations like that. Because your life is not going to be an unbroken boulevard of green lights, especially if you're trying to accomplish something noteworthy. You're going to come up against a lot of setbacks, a lot of turmoil, and it's going to be a rocky road. And the calmer and more logical you can stay under those situations, the more likely you are to prevail under those circumstances. And if you are in a leadership position, think about it. Do you want the leader who's spazzing out, panicking, acting all crazy like a child? Or do you want the leader who in the eye of the storm is calm and says, come with me if you want to live? That's me. Shit starts going haywire. I'm like, yo, I got this. Everybody stay calm. What seems to be the problem, officer? or whatever situation you're in. And it doesn't even have to be a big deal. It could be stuff like, I see people spazzing out because there's traffic. I'm like, yeah, man, this shit happens sometimes, bro. Yeah, sometimes you're in traffic. Or I see the airport. I see people spazzing out, acting a damn fool because their plane is delayed or even canceled, right? And I can see how that's not the best thing to happen in the world, but spazzing over it doesn't make it better. Acting like a fucking child doesn't make it better. I'm in situations at the airport, flights getting canceled, delayed. I'm chilling, but all right, just find another way to get there. No big deal. All right. Literally under almost all circumstances, I'm calmer than everyone else. I've been in a lot of situations and people will look at me like, man, how are you staying so calm? How are you staying so calm? And I'm not even trying. I just like, oh, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I've been meditating for about 15 years. This is why I do it, right? For situations like this, you spazzing and I'm chilling. Here's something you need to remember in meditation. A lot of people will stop doing it after doing it for a week or whatever. And they'll be like, yeah, I didn't really notice any effects. No. It's like going to the gym. You want to think of it like exercise for your brain. Like if you work out once, you're not going to see or notice any effects today or even tomorrow, right? You have to do it consistently over a long period of time. These studies show that about 8 weeks is when you start to notice the benefits, and they just start to compound as time goes on. But you have to do it consistently for at least 8 weeks to start to see the benefits. But then after that, they start to compound even more. I can talk all day about meditation and show you different studies. Here's a study that shows that it improves people's quality of life and helps them manage stress better. Here's another one that showed 8 weeks of meditation actually changed the participants' gene expression. Like it changed their bodies on a molecular level. And that makes sense because if you're less stressed out, you have less cortisol going through your body. And cortisol is the stress hormone. And having excess cortisol actually has a lot of negative effects on your body and your health. You out here stressing out, tripping all the time, man. You will fuck around and die quicker. You know? Oh, speaking of cortisol, here's a study that shows that meditation actually lowered cortisol in participants. Again, 4 months. Right? It took 4 months. So remember, you're not going to notice anything by meditating today. You will notice almost nothing, right? Listen, read the book, learn more about it. Her style of meditation, you don't need no fucking apps. You don't need none of that bullshit. In fact, most of what people call meditation is really just relaxation exercises, right? I don't fuck with Headspace, Calm, none of that shit. Because most of that shit is just relaxation exercises. And I guess that's cool. But Emily talks about how to meditate. No apps, no gizmos, no gadgets. Doing it like the monks used to do it. Doing it like Buddha do it. And she breaks down the whole strategy, breaks everything down. Read her book. It's fantastic. Well, once you got your mind right, you still got to get some motherfucking shmoney. You still got to get rich out here, right? Now, once you got that, and one thing that meditation helps you do is help you focus. But what do you focus on? Well, that's where this book comes in. The one thing. This is actually a fantastic book. Basically, the author talks about how most people are trying to do too much shit at once. And that's how you go nowhere fast. And this happened to me in my life. I actually had to keep relearning this lesson over and over again multiple times. And that's why I've reread this book multiple times. Got page earmarked and folded and shit, underlined. And the main takeaway from this book for me was narrow your focus. Instead of trying to make progress on multiple fronts simultaneously, the author says to ask yourself, what is the one thing that if I accomplish would make all the other goals easier or unnecessary. I think about what's the one thing in your life that if you accomplished it, it will make all your other goals easier to accomplish or unnecessary. And once you figure out what that is, focus on that. Focus on that. And I'm saying you can't do other things. Obviously, you're going to be multifaceted to some degree, but you have one primary focus. And for me, it was like, oh, listen, I'm going to get money. I'm going to get money, right? And instead of, it's like, yeah, I'm still going to work out. My health's going to be in shape, but I'm not trying to be an international playboy. I'm not trying to win no bodybuilding contests. I wasn't trying to anything but get money, because I knew that once I got money, it will make accomplishing everything else easier or unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? But even when it comes down to getting money, a lot of times I see entrepreneurs that try to start like the 8 businesses, or they have 8 different hustles. And it sounds cool, but it's not what's up. When I see an entrepreneur doing that, it lets me know that he doesn't really believe in any one of them. And he's throwing a bunch of shit at the wall to try to see what sticks. Because if you really believe that one of those businesses will make you a millionaire, why would you fuck with the other one? Why wouldn't you just go all in on that one? Right? So a lot of times it's doubt, but that doubt becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because like the old ancient Chinese proverb says, the man who chases 2 rabbits don't eat shit for dinner. So how that affected me was, I was like, all right, I'm gonna focus all on this online training. And I had to work other jobs, obviously, because, I got the business off the ground, but I wasn't trying to start multiple businesses once. I wasn't trying to do a whole bunch of side hustles. I just said, listen, online training. And I focused on that, and I built a 7-figure online training business. Now, here's where I fucked up, because I read the book, implemented that, right? Got to 7 figures. And I thought, man, how do I get to 8 figures? And what I did was I forgot the lessons I learned in the book. So I started doing that bullshit that entrepreneurs do, is start multiple companies, right? So I started a food prep company. We were delivering keto meals to people in New York. I was managing other influencers. I was building their funnels, building their whole businesses. I used to manage a lot of influencers, and I would do all their marketing, run all their ads, do all their customer service, basically do everything for them. And all they had to do was make videos and promote it. And we'd split the profit down the middle. Even though I'm putting up all the money, we still split the profit. And it worked out well for us, right? But I also had a supplement line, and I was doing all these different things, and they were all moderately successful. Right? I was making about $2 million a year, $2.5 million a year doing all this shit. But I was burnt out. Burnt out. I'm a hard worker, right? But it was super stressful. And then after talking to Hermosi in like 2019, I was talking to Hermosi, and I saw that he made $30 million off one business. I'm like, the fuck am I doing? There's something funny about this. I'm gonna tell you in a minute. When I realized that, I was like, fuck. All right, then I said, you know what? I'm going to focus on one business. And that was my business, where I was teaching people how to build their online training business like I did. I shut down the keto business. I had an exit on the supplement company. I stopped working with other influencers, gave them all their funnels and stuff. Like, hey, do you think all this infrastructure that's built, that's you now? You can handle it with your team. I wasn't trying to make money off them in perpetuity. I was like, yo, man, this garden I built for you, man, you reap the fruits of that forever, right? And I just focused on what I was doing. First year, my income tripled. Then we went on to make over 8 figures. All by concentrating, right? I had to relearn the lesson with this, even at the new level. The funny thing was, I got that after talking to Hermosi. The reason I was talking to him, because he was starting a bunch of other business. He was starting a supplement line, and he was starting his meal prep company. And he wanted me to help promote it to the online trainers that I coach. And we did it. We worked together. We all made some money. It was cool. He actually exited that company, and he said in other videos that it was a mistake for him to start that other business while he was doing it. So sometimes we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. That's something Hermosi said. And that's how we both had to be reminded at the same time. But again, I think some people are doing multiple things because they're scared to put all their eggs in one basket. I say, put all your eggs in that basket and protect that basket. The average millionaire has multiple streams of income. You hear that shit, but they didn't start with that, right? They made their big money doing one thing. And then once they had some leverage, they set up other shit. But that takes courage, right? Which brings us to the next book, Courage by Osho. Something you should know about Osho. Osho is a spiritual guru. He looked like Gandhi's brother. He dresses kind of like a monk, but he had like 30 Rolls Royces. And I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of spiritual guru I want to listen to. One for every day of the month. That's what he said. He said he needed one for every day of the month. You can't be driving the same Rolls Royce twice a month. like a poor person, like a broke boy. He switches up the Rolls Royce every day. Baller shit. It's a true story. And he has this book called Courage. And this book was really profound for me, you know? And my main takeaway from this book was you need fear to be courageous. I never thought about it like that. But if you have confidence in your ability to do something, if you believe you can do it, well, that doesn't take courage. You're just doing something you know you can do. Like, if I fuck your mama, it doesn't take me courage to muster up enough strength. Try to fuck that bitch, man. I know I can fuck that bitch. I'm me. She'd be honored. Your dad would thank me. Like I blessed that thing for him. It'd be like I signed his jersey. That don't take no courage. But if I wanted to do my own plumbing, I don't know how to do my own plumbing. I ain't never plumbed before. I'm not a Mario brother. That would take courage for me to do that. I shouldn't have confidence in my ability to do that because confidence comes from competence. Anybody who's confident in something they're not good at is delusional, crazy. But not having confidence doesn't mean you shouldn't do it because then you a bitch. You can't be a bitch. It's never okay to be a bitch. It's okay to be scared, but it's never okay to be a bitch, right? You need fear to be courageous because courage is facing the fear. If there's no fear to face, there's no need for courage. It's kind of like without the Joker, Batman's just a weirdo riding around Gotham dressed like an animal, like a fucking nutcase. But because there's an obstacle to fight, he's a hero. So the fear makes you heroic, right? Because heroes have courage. Heroes are courageous. The problem with being a bitch is it's habit forming. If you want to do something but you're scared to do it, that's some bitch nigga shit. And the next time you're in a situation where you're afraid to do something, it's going to be easier for you to cower under those circumstances because you practice being a bitch earlier. And then this continues over and over again until you're good at being a bitch, right? It's your default move. You've been practicing being a bitch for a significant amount of time. But the opposite is true too. If you're scared to do something and you do it anyway, that takes courage. And win or lose, at least you aren't a fucking bitch. And that's going to serve you well because the next time you find yourself in one of those situations, and you will, it's not if, it's when. When you find yourself in that situation, when you're wanting to do something, but you're scared to do it, because you practice courage earlier. Even if you lost, it doesn't matter because you practice courage, it'll be easier for you to be courageous again. And if you keep that up over a certain amount of time, now courage will be your default response, right? You will be courageous. And make no mistake, to be heroic takes courage. You have to be courageous to be heroic. And if you want to be the hero in your own story, it's going to take courage. And courage takes facing fear. Without Thanos, there's no need for an Avengers movie. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for Avengers Endgame. It's just a bunch of superheroes walking around doing regular shit. They needed something to face to be heroic. You're not going to have Thanos to face. Your Thanos is your fear because fear is your biggest obstacle. It's your number one obstacle. It's the main thing keeping people in bondage, stopping them from going after what they really want in life. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of rejection. And the better you get at facing that fear, the more opportunities you have in your life. You see, you're a bad bitch. Only the courageous have a chance to hit that. Some of y'all will be like, oh, I'll just bang this 5. Right? You see somebody who built a big business that took courage. And you see any self-made millionaire, it took a lot of courage to put his money, his reputation on the line. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. So you got to get good at facing fear. This book will help you put that into perspective. The next book is a weird one. This is called The Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes. As you can see, I've read the shit out of this. No. This book was not from the Holocaust. This is my copy. And when I was like struggling, really trying to fucking make shit happen, I just read this book over and over again. I would read it on the train, read it on the F train, read it on the E train. I'd be at 4 a.m. going to help somebody move. It'd be just me on, you ever been on the subway 4 a.m. in New York? It's a sad scene. You get on that motherfucker and it's nothing but you and some what look like illegal immigrants. I don't know, that's racist, but I used to manage a restaurant, so I know an illegal when I see one. And they about to do some labor. And I'm there with them motherfuckers about to do some labor. I remember being on that train 4 a.m. and they all tired. it was like 2008, 2009. They were all dressed in like hip hop attire. It was weird. They were dressed in hip hop attire that was cool maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So they all had on platinum FUBU, like some news because they got it from the Goodwill, right? Some motherfuckers donated this shit. They had on like Fat Farm or like a fucking 1990s NBA championship jersey, like some Goodwill shit that's clearly from the Goodwill, right? And me. And I'm on there with them, and I was like thinking like, damn, my life is fucked up. My fucking dead dad. My daddy just shot himself. We in the worst recession since the Depression. I'm on the F train 4 a.m. with a bunch of illegals about to go do some manual labor. Fucking sad moments. I would just read. And this book helped me through it, man. The Creative Mind of Success by Ernest Holmes. It's too weird. Like, you see, I got it all marked up. I read this shit millions of times. It's too weird for me to talk about. I don't even want to tell you what's in this book. But just know this book got me through some dark times. And sometimes there was points where this was all I had. As you can see, the cover is taped together. I'm not going to tell you what's in it. I'll just tell you it changed my life. It's too weird for me to talk about publicly. And the last book is a book that I actually read or listen to the audiobook once a month. And every time I read or listen to it, I learn something new that helps me make more money. And this is Influence by Robert Cialdini, The Psychology of Persuasion. There is no better book for someone who wants to build a business, market a product or service, or just be more persuasive. This book breaks it down to a literal science. There's no book that's made me as much money as this. I don't know where I'd be had I not read this book. And it's too much for me to go into now. This video will be too long. How do I know that? It's because I made a whole nother video just breaking down this book. You should go watch. And I think I mentioned some other books in that video too, but it's like a long video. Most of it is about this book. Go check that out right now.